Okay, so now the streaming is perfect. The draw frame rate is still better than last streaming. Okay, let's check the first and check the voice is audible or not. Okay, so now the streaming is perfect. The draw frame rate is still better than last streaming. Okay, let's check the first. Yeah, so now we can check our streaming because internet connection is stable right now. Okay, let's pause it. Just wait a 1 to 2 minutes to check the stable internet connection may be stable. If not, we can check again. Just 1 hours already. The just fixing internet connection. I just feel I waste time only. Nothing. Whenever I need the internet connection most, that time it will be. Show me who's actually I am. So now the streaming is perfect. Excellent. Okay. Analytics is still going perfect. You can just check the analysis and yeah, everything is going perfect. Let's start our session right now. So today I just revised what is a middleware and API in backend. This is a very most important topic if you're learning backend development. So in last session we have understanding basics of how we can connect our front end to backend. And today we just go deep in how the actually working middleware is. Okay, how the actually middleware work in our server and our coding part. Why we actually need middleware to connect front end and back end. Okay, so let's start it. The error is YouTube is receiving a not enough data to maintain streaming. As such, viewer will experience buffering. The internet connection is still lost, and maybe but the frame rate is 39. So if frame rate is less than 50, it's chance ki it will not buffering. Because the last time I was streaming, that connection is still bad, but yeah, the streaming is not closed automatically. Let's see what happened. According to the internet connection, I just feel that this stream is also lost in any time. Now the frame rate is perfect. Just stay it, please. Okay, just stay. No, do not again. But I feel okay. The streaming is now going perfect. Here I see. Okay. So any further delay? Let's start our session. Okay. The streaming quality is excellent, and I hope it will be the same. Okay. Just pause and let's start the streaming. Okay, so today we actually revise what is middleware and what is APIs. Okay, middleware is uh, middleware where the middleware is situated. Okay, the middleware is situated between front end request and back end response. Just suppose there is basic code, but we come to code after, but first we understand where the actually middleware is. Just suppose this is our front end and this is our middleware and this is our backend. Okay, here is the three things. front-end, middleware, or backend. What is the actually a middleware do? And if anybody knows, just comment. So we discuss what is it. Okay, middleware is just like middleware. You just understand the word is say middleware. That's mean it is situated in middle of front end and back end. Okay, okay. So let's understand what is middleware. ठीक है? Middleware is it is a function that run between the request and response. Okay, middleware क्या है? Middleware एक function है. It is a function that run between request and response. Okay. Suppose there is a code. When a user requests and posts this to a backend, it is request. But before it going to the server, it will go first middleware, then it go to the server. And what the actually middleware do? They just simply just understand the code. If the middleware satisfy all the condition, then our server response on the basis of requirement. Okay. Just understand what is middleware. ठीक है? Middleware is it is a function that run between the request and response. Okay, middleware क्या? Okay, our internet connection is stable now. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so now we study middleware. Okay, it is a function that run between the request and responsive. Middleware हमारा क्या है? What is middleware? It run between front end and back end. Because you just think, what if we can direct action from front end to back end? It will be good. But why we actually need middleware? Because if a user can directly access to the backend, it's create a problem. The problem is, if what happened if the front end, if backend was shared only those data, there's user requirement. But if we don't use middleware, they just access easily. If you have working on authentication, authorization, you need middleware. Okay, without middleware, it's problem. The problem is, let's say middleware is like a security guard. Okay, middleware is like a security guard and a helper that's situated between request and responses. Okay, user request करता है. Okay, and server response भेजता है. एंड जो बीच में जो हमारा काम होता है वो होता है मिडलवेयर का, जो कि चेक करता है. जो सपोज यू आर गोइंग टू द मॉल एंड यू एंड द गार्ड इज चेकिंग यू. ओके, दैट इज मिडलवेयर. इफ दे चेक, you can, if you satisfy all the rules that we have the guard, it's then you enter, otherwise you not. Okay, that is middleware. Okay, when the user hit on API, the user when the user hit the API, and what we just suppose here is our React application. Okay, whenever we click on this button, its button is a handle click. This Button is just like a on click, but it's also called API. Which API? It's called Add This Server Port API with the help of Axios. We understand what is Axios is in few minutes. Okay, just don't be. So just go there. First of all, zoom little so just we can. Okay. So let's understand it. Okay. First thing, here is our note and just read the exactly what is. Okay. ठीक है. What is middleware in backend development? ठीक है. Simple. What is simple? Middleware is a middle layer that run between the request and responses in the backend. ठीक है. When a request comes from the backend, it not directly reach the main logic. ठीक है. It first passes through middleware. In one line, middleware is a gatekeeper, a checker, a helper in between. ठीक है. You cannot direct access a front end to backend without middleware because middleware is used in to get the better security. And just think like this. Here's a real example. Imagine entering an office. Okay, you enter the building. Security guard check your ID card. If you have ID card, and reception ask your purpose. If you have the purpose, if all are clear, you can go into the office. Otherwise, you not. Okay, this is a security and reception middleware. This is a reception. This is exactly a middleware. Okay, it help you it help you to maintain a basic security. Okay, it's maintain basically security. Okay, so you so the user cannot access to the backend. Okay, and why? Because we had just when we study and revise the authentication, then we study about what is it. Okay, and why middleware is important? You just read it. Middleware help us to avoid repeating code and control requests properly. Middleware is used in authentication, authorization, logging, error handling, validation, parsing JSON, parsing JSON security, all of this. Okay, middleware is important. Middleware is important. Okay, not because it is only a very fancy term. Middleware is important. Okay. Let me check if streaming is getting any problem or not. If streaming is live or not? Because the current viewer is less. It's very less. Okay, so that's it. Okay. Middleware क्या है? Middleware is situated between uh, front end and back end. ठीक है. It work like a suppose you can just expect it to is it is an client side renting ना context with the browser and JavaScript. Yeah. Middleware is क्या? It is a function that run between the request and responses. ठीक है. Request and responses के बीच में हमारा होता है middleware. Okay, let's study the next thing. ठीक है. And what is an API? API is a bridge between that allow you so you can communicate with front end to back end. Okay, this is an API. If the full form of API is application programming interface. ठीक है. You cannot directly access the database. You need an API so you can communicate the front end to the back end with the help of API. Okay, and this is a real life example. It's a basic real life example. You can understand what is an exactly an API is. Okay, and this is a basic code. We have a completely backend. This is a front end code, and we have a backend code, and we revise line by line code so we understand how the actually a front end communicate with the back end with the help of an API. Okay, no viewers are available right now. Okay, so start with our front end code. This is a basic React code, and this is a basic app.jsx file. And JSX is a Java. JSX is just like a JavaScript extensible markup language. So it's provide an interface so you can write the JavaScript code, write the JavaScript and HTML code React in your React application. Okay, so here it is. This is a basic hook. This is an state, and that is a function. Okay, and we have creating four hooks so we can handle this input box. Okay, and the input is taking basically the username, a city, a age, a password. Okay, a user can access only data if if they enter a correct password. Right now we don't have a database, so we create a basic variable. Password is this. Okay, if user has entered password in that input, the server will send request in that. Okay, and server direct don't do not direct communicate with backend. Okay, just like because there is a issue, and issue is the origin is different. Okay, you just see. Okay, where it is in a web. Okay, the the server address and local host is the value is 5173. In server, the local host address is 4444. Both are different, so you cannot directly communicate with the different URL. It's basic in simple a different URL. So a course is provide basic. This a course is a framework. What is a framework and a library? Okay, so you can notice it is a built-in with a third-party middleware that's used to handle that help to that just creating a bridge between uh, front end and back end. Both have different origin, but with the help of codes, you can communicate with each other. Okay, just basically suppose we have just removed this code. Okay, and now we just try to write. Okay, this is and just whenever we click on send data, the network error. Okay, when we click and just you just see from access to XML HTTP request at localhost to this from origin has been blocked by course policy. And what is course policy? And first of all, before understanding the course policy, we understand the what is a course. A course allow your front end and back end running on different origin to talk to each other safely. Okay, without without origin, without ports, you cannot be direct access the front end to the back end if the port number is different. If the port number is same, you can communicate with that. But without, if your port number is different, you need a codes so you can send the request from front end to the back end with the help of codes. Okay, so let's if we just use the server dot use dot code. So okay, so first thing just copy this code and go to our server and just understand what is it. Okay, just paste it. Okay, so ChatGPT will explain what is that. Okay, it allow your backend server to accept requests from other origins. Okay, your front end has a different domain, maybe different port number, different protocol. It remove browser blocking between front end and backend. In simple terms, क्या है? It remove browser blocking. Browser blocking is just like your browser had not allowing you, you can direct communicate with front end to the backend if your origin is different. if your in the origin is just like your domain will be different, your port number is different, your protocol is different, you cannot be communicate directly. But with the help of server.use, you can. Okay, it's a course policy. Okay, a real life example. By default, only family members are allowed inside. Outside or otherwise website are blocked. So ask a permission gate. Yes, outside are allowed to enter. But if that is the exactly a middleware is. Okay. I hope you understand little. You understand the basic idea of what is and middleware is. Okay. I hope you understand little. You understand if we just use the server dot use dot code. So okay, copy this code and go to our server and just understand what is it. Okay. Let's check the streaming. Okay, just so server dot use dot code. It allow front-end request. Force is a security feature that control which front-end are allowed to access the backend. Okay, we use course so we can have an access with front-end can access the backend server. Yes, so we use course. Okay, and now we just click on send data. So you just say the password doesn't match. Okay, we write again and now we just click on send data. So you just see the data sent successfully, and here is the information is each city, and this response is from backend. Okay, so you can see that the response will be from backend. And what is middleware do? Middleware is just create a block. It's a wall that it's a door. Okay, and source is decide which front end can access the server and which not. So here it is. We just basically write our port number and the address where we want the response, where we send the response. Okay, not send the where to send the request. Okay, so what is the post? Okay, a port is a port now. It's a post. Okay, the post is like is used to send data to the server. Okay, so we have it is an address, and this address is for you. Await exhaust.post means you need to share your you need to send this data on this particular address, particular address. Okay, so basically whenever the user click on this button, we use try and catch method to detect and find the error. So whenever the error are coming from the server, we just handle it easily. Okay, and just again we write it. Okay, so here it is, data sent successfully. It's working properly. Live streaming is less because of तो जस्ट लाइक हम यहाँ पे क्या करते हैं, casing is a function in cost await Axios is a library. Axios is a library. Okay, I think yeah. Axios is a JavaScript library that used to that make HTTP request from browser or Node.js with simpler syntax and pattern. Okay. Axios is a JavaScript library used to make HTTP request. Axios is a JavaScript library. Axios is a JavaScript library that used to make HTTP request from browser or Node.js with simpler syntax and better error handling. Okay. So, so right now we understand what is it Middleware, ठीक है? Middleware is gateway and how to create a server. Comma set setting, const is set age, const password set password, const handler async try, const responsible await Axios dot post localhost user. Okay, this is a basic try code, try and catch. Question is Middleware क्या होता है? ठीक है, and what is it? Create किया, handle input is a function. Whenever user click on this function, async function call, async is async await. This, those function which takes time. In this we use async await. Okay. Try and catch cost response await dot execute dot post. It just basically taken await we post. Okay. With the help of Axios. Axios is a JavaScript library that provide HTTP method that provide HTTP method to make request and to make request from browser or Node.js with simpler syntax. Okay. Is Axios is used is Axios is only used for is Axios is only used to make HTTP requests on or send responses also. mostly used it is Axios is only used to take is Axios is only used to Axios is only to make requests. No, Axios is not only for making web. It does much for what can Axios do simpler. Axios send request, send data to backend, receive and pairs response automatically, handle error properly, attach header. ठीक है, which is to make a request. Okay, so what is to so Axios is provide an interface that method so we can request take re send request and take responses from the server. Okay, this is an the syntax of Axios is simpler than another. This is an JavaScript library. Okay, so okay, so whenever the user clicks on this handle inputs, try and catch method is try and catch is used to handle errors. Const response await Axios dot post. Okay, so whenever the user click on handle inputs, this function is called. And what the function they do? Const response. It is a variable that send response. Okay, send request. Post is used to send data to the server. So here it is an address where the address where the user want to send the data. Okay. And what kind of data? The data is there. It is an it is a form input, whatever we write here, and it will be goes to the server. Okay, so just click on send data, data sent successfully, and its response is come from backend side. Okay, you can see this response is from backend side, and you can see it here. It is a code. This response is from backend side. Okay, so just go on there and just see what is the middleware in that. Okay, Axios Axios is a middleware? Not, but its course is middleware, yes. Why? Because it provides what is an exactly a course? Suppose it is in our React app and we want to send request on this particular address. Okay, you cannot add direct send front end to the backend without a middleware, without an API. Okay, so don't call API. You send data. You request data using the async await. So just click on this button. Whenever you click on this button, this function is called, and this the and Axios is a JavaScript library. Okay, that used to send data and that used to and it used to HTTP request काम आता है. Okay, basically just and that provide a simpler syntax. ठीक है, Axios is a JavaScript library used to make HTTP requests from browser or Node.js with a simpler syntax and better error handling. Okay, easy. And now here is an A. Okay, just use this code again. Just refresh it completely. Okay, course. What is the course to? Okay, I just said this is an middleware. Just comment. Just comment. Yeah, just remove it and check what the error we have received. Okay, we clean it and now we just fill the detail again. Here is an age and password. And then we just click on send data. You can see the network error. This, why they see the network error? Because we have used the try and catch method there. Okay. So when the user click when the client basically I when I click this button this function is called, and it sent to the data, but you just say it try to send data, but data is not receiving in there because of the origin is different. Okay, you can see it. Access to XML HTTP request at localhost user from origin localhost has been blocked by course. ठीक है? Course policy. A course policy क्या है? Course policy is just like you cannot communicate with a front end to a back end if your host and your port number will be different. You can see it is an port number is 5173. In this the port number is 4444. ठीक है? Both are different port number. ठीक है? You cannot directly access to a different port number from front end to back end. So but if you have used the codes there, it will provide you an interface, allow your JavaScript to you can communicate with that course. ठीक है? But still in condition, we decide the course will send on which front end user can send the data to a backend. So we use there. ठीक है? We can also define the origin there. Okay. So let's app.jsx. Is anyone comment here? Okay. So this is an Axios dot post. So where we are? Here we are. Okay. So server.use.course is just understand the definition and we go moving forward towards. Okay. Axios is a JavaScript library used to make HTTP request. Okay. कोर्स क्या है? ये हेल्प करता है HTTP रिक्वेस्ट के लिए. ठीक है? हम यहाँ पे हैं. When we just click on this button, Axios function is send the data on this port number. The port number will send from here and we just see the output. Okay, just read the code. First of all, we understand the try code, try and then catch. Try is just like first thing, try this code. If the code is not working, then jump to this. Okay, when the user click on this one, the localhost will send username. The value of username is will be stored in there, the city value is stored in there, and you just see how can handle. We use the onChange function set username. Whenever the user write, whenever the user write anything here, the value will change with the help of state, because state is a dynamically variable that store data dynamically. Okay, this is basically, it is also a variable, but state is different from variable because you can't change variable dynamically, but states are dynamically, you can change it dynamically with the help of function, and whenever on changes function, this is a built-in function that will be provided by a JavaScript. Okay, I want to just check, can we send the message or not? Actually, I see क्या, course policy is just like you cannot communicate Here is an age and password. Okay, it's working. And then we just click on send data. You can see the network error. This, why they see the network error? Because we have used the try and catch method there. Okay, so when the user click, when the client, basically I when I click this button, this function is, the live streaming is working properly. User can send the message as well. Very difficult to engage the customer, the client. Okay, so it is another code. What is diff? Diff is a used to if container type data. Okay, that is just like input text. Here is an try and catch method. The try method is just like, okay. So let's start. Okay. So whenever the user write any input on the input tag, the data will stored in this variable in state. And on the click button, the data will this all data is sent to this port number. Okay. The data will send on this port number. If the if there is if it goes successfully, simply just write the console.log response.data. Response.data is sent it from this. Okay. What we send this data on this variable, and response is posed to backend, and backend is check the password. If the password is correct, he send the request here. Okay. User pay in user we have getting a request in console.log is check receive data and request.body. Okay. If pass is not equal to password, return error, password doesn't match. But if password is match, they just simply print the data. Okay, username, the username is sent from the user, and this is basic code. Okay, and alert भेज देगा if the try if this code if this block of code is running successfully, it will run. If not, it's come to there. ठीक है, alert.catch.error is the error handling function. You can use it to handle errors. Okay, now we just go there and understand it. What is an status code? ठीक है, what is status code in status code is just like the range between 100 and 199. Response status code in HTTP. What is a status code in HTTP? Status code is just like it is an output result of your code. ठीक है? Simple HTTP status are numbers sent by the server to tell the client what happened with the request. Okay. HTTP status code and numbers. ठीक है? HTTP status codes are numbers that sent by server to tell the client what happened with the request. Okay. After every request, the server replies with the status code response data. Example, if you order something online, order place 204, wrong address 400, not login 401, you are blocked 403, item not received 404, server crash 500. Okay. This is in basic status codes categorized. Okay. It will be categorized. And now let's see. Hey viewer, are you there? Just write something. Are you a developer or not? Or any random person who's just watching this stream. You can write anything. You can write anything because I'm just here to talk to you. So, are you a developer? You are learning. You decide to learn. Okay, no problem. You just type if you have any problem. Just can. So this is an HTTP request and how it's working. So this is a real login API example. App.post login request dot const email and password. If they check the email and password is correct, if email password is a missing field, okay. If empty, if nothing is written in email and password, it's empty. If email is not equal to test.email, return. It's an error, give an error. Password is not. So there is an request. When we ever just create an authentication, we use all these methods, okay. And how frontend use this code? Frontend you just simply try this code, await post login data, console.class.data, and catch that error. Okay. It's literally little difficult, but yeah, I can try to understand it. Okay. So we understand what is status code is. Just start. Okay. मान के चलो. Just suppose user entered a wrong password here. I write the wrong password. I just write any password and just send data. So we have response. Password doesn't match. Okay. Password doesn't match. Unauthorized. Okay. It says unauthorized. Password is incorrect because we have set the responses here of 401. What we if we write 2200, 200, we just write 100 there and just we send again. So it so now it sent another response. Oh, we click multiple times, so that's okay. So now it show another error, but we write 200 there, so it will show a success. Still, okay, password doesn't match, but the response is success. Because of that, 200 code is just used to successfully respond. The response is successful. Okay, but we write the 300 there and just run again. Password doesn't match, and we have not received any response from that. But we write the 400 and then we send data. You can see the password doesn't match. A bad request. Bad request you use client error response. Okay, client error response कि मतलब the client write any something that not follow the rule set of rule. Okay, simple. That not follow the set of rule. Okay, and now just so it is a bad practice whenever we're working with a database, then we use this status code structurally. Okay, so we just write if the code is incorrect, that's mean it's incorrect. So we just write the 400 there. Okay, now we just write the if the pass we can also write the condition there. If the code is correct, we send the status code is 200 because it says easy. Okay, but it's not. So then we use the 400. So it can I where I can just show you. For that I have to print that code in a server side rendering. So just forget this. Okay. I hope just like we have covered almost every topic, and this is an HTTP header. I don't study yet, but for हम जितने overall में पढ़ ही लिया. What this code do and this code. Also, I understand what is this code do. Whenever the click we instruction, this is the handle the request. Okay. Await क्या? Await is just send the request to the client server, and the server is taking a response there post. Okay. And just be the and the operation will perform. Okay. If you are live there, just comment anything. So I think now it's showing you correctly. Let me check. Is anybody on the live stream? Okay. So now we study what is HTTP header is. HTTP header is just like if we want to send an additional information from front end to backend and backend to front end. Just suppose we just write, we use the, whenever we create an account, just basically Instagram account, we just sign up using Gmail and password. And whenever we click on login and sign up, so so, so what operation is performed? Basically, it will send a pop-up of success. You can successfully log in. And whenever you just write wrong password, it will pop up you have entered the wrong password. Where it is come? It's come from an additional information. Okay. You can set also with that error, but you can share the additional information. Just suppose in this, we want what we want. We just want to send the okay. Hmm. What is HTTP headers in Node? What is HTTP header in Node? And just see what the output I have received. HTTP header are extra information sent along with every request and response. Okay. What is HTTP request? HTTP header are extra information sent along with every request and responses. Okay, real life example, courier package. When you receive a courier bag inside actual item, but body is a sender, receiver, wait for your not deliver instruction. That outside label, HTTP header, this is best example. You can easily understand. If you just go on Amazon, just purchase any product. You just pay for a product. But the packaging, it's all an additional thing. Okay. It's an extra information. It's not extra a thing, but in a server side, that's extra information that you have sent from that a user can send. This is a HTTP header. Okay, so let's just take a basic example. If we have, okay, just copy this code and paste in there, and let's see what the output is. Okay, user dot get profile. We have just write the console dot log required dot header and just dot send check console. Just check what the output we have received. Here it is, and just write profile and enter. Actually, our server is closed, so we just need to run our server again. Go to our backend file and write down npm run dev. Our server is starting again. Let's refresh it. Okay, the app is not defined. We have right with server with the server. Let's try it again. Okay, check console. Okay, you can see there is an additional information that's sent by a server. We just tell header. Okay, here it is an information. It is an additional information that's sent by a user and a client. You can just see upgrade insurance platform update, insure request. This okay. It's all come from additional information. And now we go on the STP header. Okay. So almost I study the entire topic. I have just like questions. If anybody online, just give me an answer. Forget. Middleware is a function that runs between the request and response with purpose for modifying the request before sending data. Okay. तो हमें रिक्वेस्ट सेंड करें रिव्यूज पे तो रिव्यूज डॉट पोस्ट रिव्यूज हमने इंपोर्ट करा यहाँ पे ठीक है रिव्यूज हमें फंक्शन प्रोवाइड करता है डॉट पोस्ट दिस इज अ मल्टीपल फंक्शन ठीक है जो कि हमें एक्चुअल प्रोवाइड करता है तो हमें क्या करना पोस्ट करना सिटिंग एडिट response response for data 100% successfully catch error dot message response message. Is anybody on the live stream? Okay. So now we study what is HTTP header is. HTTP header is just like if we want to send an additional information from front end to backend and backend to front end. Just suppose we just write, we use the, whenever we create an account, just basically Instagram account, we just sign up using Gmail and password. And whenever on login and sign up, so so, so what operation is performed? Basically, it will send a pop-up of success. You can successfully log in. And whenever you just write wrong password, it will pop up you have entered the wrong password. Where it is come? It's come from an additional information. Okay. You can set also with that error, but you can share the additional information. Just just अगर समझ लो, ये put clear करो नहीं ये तुझे पता है ठीक है and ये क्या होता है whenever the user click on this function is called and this function is do what is async cover ठीक है और मुझे सेम ऐसा फंक्शन क्रिएट कराना हो जो कि सेम एक काम करे लेकिन ना हम क्या करेंगे, वो अलग एड्रेस पे करेंगे। हम लेते हैं यहाँ पे index.js एंड हम एक क्रिएट करते हैं एक बेसिक सा अलग सर्वर। बटन जो कि डेटा सेंड डेटा करेगा। इन पे क्या लेंगे, हम लेंगे बटन, ये बटन रिसीव get data. Okay, we just create a function there, const get data missing await exhaust dot get password is just send data. Okay, send data successfully, but when we click on get data server, exhaust is a promise. ठीक है, request failed with the status 404, exhaust code and ठीक है bad request because there is no exhaust server that can take data from, so we have to create a separate different server post that take response. Okay, so we can write here server dot get, we need to post, ठीक है, data, let's use the chat gpt, how to send data from server to client with the with you using Axios and course. Okay, this is a basic code we use. We already said this. Okay, Ports is just like we have allow, so you can communicate with communicate if you are a different port. Okay, you can still communicate with the help of ports. Okay, so let's is the backend data optional word practice. Okay, now I understand why the company demand for the backend development because it still I just write the basic thing from the ChatGPT. Just explain me how I can just push my backend code to the front end so the user can see and it's okay. So just like copy and paste. Just paste. Okay, server will respond and we just create a callback request comma response. Okay, dot send bounced bounce. Just copy this code. So maybe it's understand हम कहना क्या चाहते हैं. Okay, okay. This code is correct. ठीक है. Backend root is post. Okay. So it is a backend server. Backend server पे हमारा जो कोड है यहाँ पे कॉपी करते हैं एंड पेस्ट करके समझते हैं कि क्या हमारा कोड है. ठीक है. दिस इज एन बैकएंड कोड. ठीक है. बैकएंड कोड में क्या सर्वर डॉट यूजर डॉट रिक्वेस्ट डॉट रिस्पॉन्स. कॉन्स्ट रिस्पॉन्स है. रिस्पॉन्स पे हमें क्या भेजना है यूजर को. वी सेंड टू वैल्यू नेम और रोल. ठीक है. सो वी जस्ट एंड रिस्पॉन्स डॉट जेसन रिस्पॉन्स. ओके. Now check the front end code. And the front end code is response.await.get and console.response. ठीक है. Now just check. Whenever we click on get data from server, it show num and developer. ठीक है. And just to checking this, we also send a message here. This response is come come from backend side. Okay. 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 Just here is a comma, and now we just getting, and you just see this data is come from backend server. And so just first thing understand this code कि actually हुआ क्या है. ठीक है. And now we moving forward. Okay. So this is code in front end code, but we simply did. Where it is the function async await const.response await exhaust.get, and we have just address. We have just put the end, and we just enter the port number here. We want the data from there. एंड अवेट से जाएगा जब भी वो गेट से करेगा तो यहाँ से वो जो है रिक्वेस्ट वो सेंड करेगा इधर से. ठीक है. एंड यहाँ से क्या है लेट्स सी यूजर डॉट गेट. ठीक है. वी यूज गेट इन बोथ साइड. ओके. सर्वर डॉट गेट यूजर ऑन रिक्वेस्ट कौन रिस्पॉन्स नेम यूजर और मैसेज. ठीक है. ठीक है. This is we set the response there. In this port number, we have this particular set of data, and when the user call there, it will receive it. Okay. Okay, so I just revise it completely. Okay, so it's time to close the live streaming. If anybody is here, just ask me a question. Hey, are you there?